the energy cooperative I conducted research with is called the Nostra, and is the largest electricity cooperative in Italy. My thesis broadly looks at what it means, what are the ethical implications of navigating a capitalist sector such as the electricity market, being a non-profit organization. So in this talk, I'm going to focus on the ethnographically grounded notion of prosumer that emerged during 17 months of fieldwork that I conducted between 2021 and 2022. So the word prosumer is a blend of the two words producer and consumer, which signal reconciliation of two sectors of the economy that in most today's economy are generally separated: production and consumption. Although it might seem a neologism, the term was actually coined in the 1980s by futurist writer Alvin Toffler in his book The Third Way, where Toffler explores how economically developed society, economically powerful societies are transitioning from an industrial age economic system that he calls the second wave to a more decentralized system of the information technology age, which he calls the third wave. In this third wave, he prefigures prosumers, which are people who, by recombining production and consumption, are able to produce and use the goods and services that would be otherwise purchased in the marketplace on their own. The term prosumer, since Toffler coined it, has been broadened and applied to various fields. Today, it is being increasingly used to describe energy users who, thanks to the advancement in distributed power generation and storage systems, can both consume and produce energy independently from the conventional energy utilities. Anthropologists and social scientists have provided kind of a description of the prosumers as ethical consumers who advance the desire of the latter to escape capitalist consumption. In particular, ethical consumers are often described as people who make choices based on ethical considerations, selecting products, manufacturers, and retailers that align with their values. In contrast, prosumers are seen as to reject the consumption of goods produced by others altogether. And some anthropologists describe them as disengaging, aiming to disengage from markets transaction entirely, minimizing commercial exchanges and favoring non-monetary exchanges of goods whenever possible. In my research, I show that a different notion of prosumer emerges in the context of Nostra. One that in which markets and monetary transaction are central in shaping a new energy subjectivity. Now, before I go into the details of my research, I think it's useful to give a little bit of context about the circumstances in which my research took place. Nostra is one of the varied network of grassroots energy initiatives that usually go under the name of energy communities. These not only involve cooperatives, but also other forms of organizations such as district heating, shared ownership, and others, that although different share the common goal of promoting bottom-up approaches to renewable energy development, which depart from traditional private and state-led models of energy generation, distribution, and ownership. In Italy, in the mid-2000s, there has been an extensive policy support for different renewable technologies, in particular solar, biomass, and wind, that that resulted in a surge of civic engagement with renewable energy. The government introduced substantial subsidies for these technologies as part of a strategic effort to shift Italy from being a major importer country to being one of the more important producers of renewable energy in the European Union. Among these technologies, solar power benefited from the most substantial incentives. In 2005, Italy introduced a generous feed-in tariff called Conto Energia, which literally translates to energy account, which incentivized both businesses and households to install photovoltaic systems. As a result, the installed solar capacity in Italy skyrocketed from around 90 megawatts per year in 2007 to around 19,000 megawatts by 2014. And these favorable conditions do not only support businesses' engagement with with renewable facilities, but also kind of incentivized a widespread civic engagement with smaller scale solar installations, providing opportunities for individuals and organizations who typically lack the resources, the financial resources to pursue larger, more complex energy projects. It is within this context that many Italians began to engage with renewable energy, not only at the household level, but also collectively, and mainly in the form of cooperatives. More recently, energy communities have become the focus of policy intervention at the European Union level, aimed at reshaping member states' markets and encouraging citizen engagement with renewable facilities. In particular, the 2019 Renewable Energy Directive, also known as RED II, introduced the first legal framework for developing renewable energy communities across the European Union, and required the member states to adapt these policies to their national contexts. In response, that year, Italy began implementing the directive, and it has since completed the legislative process. Simultaneously, a range of different stakeholders have actively started supporting the formation of new energy communities or encouraging end users to join existing energy communities. Here I bring the example of Patagonia, the famous American clothing company, which is renowned for its advocacy on environmental and social issues. Which in 2020 launched a promotional campaign called We the Power to support renewable energy communities across the continent. And Nostra was chosen as the partner for Italy. In one of the news that Nostra published to promote the campaign, we read that Patagonia tries to encourage citizens to choose an energy community as their electricity provider, to join or collectively invest in an existing cooperative, thus supporting employment creation, community growth, and local people struggling with energy poverty, or to found a new energy community. Now, before moving to the next part of the talk, where I'll be focusing on the notion of prosumer that I mentioned, it is worth giving a couple of pointers about how my fieldwork took place. Now, due to the nature of Nostra, which is an organization whose members are spread across Italy and live and work in different regions, and partly also because of the difficulties brought about by the pandemic, my fieldwork was conducted both in physical and virtual spaces. And I used a mix of in-person and digital methods to collect the data. In particular, I engaged synchronously in online meetings, workshops, and other events. and asynchronously by watching recorded session and videos that were produced before I started my engagement with the cooperative. I also conducted in-person fieldwork at the Nostra office, Nostra headquarters in Milan, for one short period in November 2021, and then a more extensive period between May and July 2022. And I traveled to different parts of Italy to attend work trips and other promotional events, along with one team dedicated to developing renewable energy communities locally. Now, throughout the talk, when I talk about members, I specifically refer to those people who are customers, so to speak, so people who hold a supply contract with the cooperative. But in my research, I also engage with other types of interlocutors, such as workers, members of the board of directors, and clients, especially town councillors, who contracted Nostra to design and develop renewable energy community projects in their municipalities. Now, as I mentioned in the title, Nostra is Italy's largest cooperative, with over 15,000 members across the country to date. In the map, you can see the distribution of the members, which are a prevalence of members in the northern Italian regions, especially Lombardy, Piedmont, and Veneto. These members are primarily households, but they also involve businesses and non-profit organizations. And Nostra was founded in 2014 in Milan as a cooperative adjutenza, as it's called in Italian, a user cooperative, which is dedicated to selling electricity and energy services to its members. The founding organizations were an environmental association, a sustainability consultancy firm based in Milan, and two other producer cooperatives, which were dedicated exclusively to generating electricity from renewable plants. These producer cooperatives, in particular, sought to create an independent organization that could sell their electricity directly to the members without having to resort to other utilities operating in the electricity market, as it was the norm until then. So in 2018, Nostra merged with one of these producers' cooperative, Red Energie, under the name of Nostra. They kept the name. And basically, the aim was to become a both producer and supplier cooperative. So to use one of the expressions that my interlocutors liked, they were aiming to close the loop between production and supply of electricity. Now, this idea of closing the loop is central to understanding how the notion of prosumers and its relation to market dynamics plays out. So, as a cooperative, Nostra differs from most businesses in the electricity industry in that its primary aim is not to generate profits, but to create values for its members and to contribute to the wider society more broadly. Here's an excerpt of the Nostra statute where these objectives are stated. So the cooperative basically says that it aims to purchase and sell goods and services in the most advantageous manner for its members, and to improve the material and cultural condition of them, and also to promote conscious, sustainable, and participatory use and production of energy. And obviously, this energy is produced exclusively from renewable sources. Now, most of the Nostra members I interviewed during fieldwork shared this feeling that through Nostra, they could break free from the mainstream electricity economy, which they saw as intimately linked to fossil fuels. In fact, the electricity market in Italy today is still largely dominated by companies that heavily relied on fossil fuels for production and trading of electricity, but also because of the particular pricing system in place in Italy, which is the marginal system, which I don't have the time to go in detail now, but basically links the price of electricity to the price of gas. This is also another reason why they see the mainstream electricity economy as fossil fuel dependent. However, the appeal of Nostra was not solely based on its provision of renewable electricity. Many members were also drawn to the cooperative because they felt that by joining it, they were participating in an alternative economy. I believe that this quote from one of the members that I interviewed captures well this sentiment. So Nicholas said that a profit-seeking company is one thing and a cooperative is another. Besides environmental principle, it also has ethical principle. It's like comparing organic food bought at the supermarket and organic food bought from the farmer next door. It simply isn't the same thing. That's the difference. Participation, democracy, and grassroots change. This comparison between different ways of accessing organic food is just one of the many metaphors that my interlocutors use to express their sense of disengagement from the mainstream economy. They frequently drew an example from alternative food systems they were familiar with, where shorter supply chains are more easily identifiable. However, the situation when it comes to electricity is more complex. So here's a representation of the electricity market structure today in Italy. Although the electricity market was liberalized in Italy nearly 2 decades ago, we can fairly argue that what we actually face is more of an oligopoly rather than a fully liberalized market, where major state-owned companies or previously owned companies like Enel and Eni, which once monopolized the market, are now joined by several other energy firms, smaller businesses, and cooperatives. While liberalization theoretically allows for greater participation by private entities in the market, this is not entirely reflected in practice due to the market structure, which operates through this 5-way system, divided into generation, wholesale, transmission and dispatching, distribution and metering, and retail. I won't go too deeply into the details, the specifics of these different areas, but it's important to note that only 3 parts of the supply chain are fully liberalized, with many different businesses participating in the 2 ends of the supply chain, generation and retail, and a fewer actors participating in the wholesale market. In contrast, transmission and dispatching and distribution and metering remain essentially monopolies. Specifically, the transmission of electricity from production companies to local distributors over the national high voltage grid is managed by a single operator, which is called Terna. And the distribution and metering functions are handled by a single operator in each grid area in Italy. In there are 7 different grid areas. And our distribution and metering are guided by rules set by the National Energy Authority. Enel, the previously holder of the monopoly of electricity retail, oversees this function, controlling over 85% of the market. Now, Nostra operates at both ends of this supply chain, generation and retail. And as you can guess, to get electricity from the generating plant to the retail point where the government can supply to the members, this electricity has to travel all the way across the 3 other phases. And this happens through a series of trading mechanisms and intermediaries. The situation is further complicated by the growing energy demand of Nostra's expanding membership base. According to the latest data from the 2023 annual report, and Nostra supplies approximately 42 gigawatts of electricity to its member each year, which are sourced from 4 main areas. I can see that I'm missing. Okay. So the first two of these 4 main areas are the historical collective plants and the new collective plants. The first one are solar installation, mainly, with just one wind turbine, which were inherited from Energy. They produce a cooperative and Nostra merged with. And these are 12 collective plants overall, contributing to around 1 gigawatt per year. The new collective plants are recently established wind turbines. And there are 2 wind mills located in Umbria, in central Italy, and generate about 1.5 gigawatts per year. Both sets of plants are fully owned by the cooperative and its members. Now, a third area is what Nostra calls producers members. These are private actors who own renewable energy facilities and sell the exceeding energy that they don't use themselves to Nostra, which in turn sells it to its members. There are currently around 30 producers members, mostly solar plants, that together generate nearly 6 gigawatts per year. Together, these 3 sources account for roughly 8.5 gigawatts per year, which is, if you do the calculation, around 20% of the electricity that Nostra needs to supply its full membership base. So where is the rest of the electricity taken? It's purchased from the wholesale electricity market. And this brings me back to the idea of closing the loop, the ambition of closing a loop, which is the project that the cooperative strives to achieve. So closing the loop refers to the goal of enabling each and Nostra members to become both a producer and consumer of electricity, so a prosumer, effectively creating a closed economy that is insulated from the mainstream electricity market. To effectively close this loop, Nostra must expand its initial 2 areas of electricity production, the old and the new collectively owned plants, so that the energy generated and supplied by the cooperative alone aligns with the demand of its members. In 2021, Nostra launched a crowdfunding campaign among its members called Freedom is Self-Production. This title was strategically used to kind of tap into the members' desire to break free from the market. And the campaign encouraged members to invest in production funds, which are capital pools periodically open to allow members to contribute financial support for expanding Nostra's facilities. In other words, beyond the modest membership fee, which is around 50 euros required to join the cooperative, members can provide additional funds to finance the construction or acquisition of new power plants. And this initiative coincided with the unveiling of the first fully collectively financed wind turbine in Gubbio. Alongside the Freedom in Self-Production campaign, Nostra also introduced a special tariff for members who decided to invest in the cooperative's production fund, known as the Prosumer tariff, or Tariffa Prosumer in Italian. So members of the board of directors expressed their hope that the cooperative could eventually supply each member with the electricity generated directly from the plants that they themselves had invested in. The vision of the board of directors was that for every member to access electricity from these power plants, effectively bridging the gap between production and supply chains that the motto closing the loop speaks to. So as the campaign articulated, this would enable each member to become a prosumer. Now, drawing on James Carrier's definition of the moral economy, I view Nostra's prosumers as a manifestation of a moral economy which is rooted in the mutual obligation that arise when people transact over time. For Nostra members aspiring to become prosumer, a minimum investment of several hundred euros is required into the cooperative's production fund. In return, Nostra offers a fixed price tariff to reward prosumers for their investment, thereby supporting the cooperative's goal of closing the loop. This prosumer tariff not only provided significant economic benefits to those members who chose to invest in it, but also distinguished them from other members who were still on a flexible tariff, which was dependent because it was linked to the fluctuating prices on the wholesale electricity market. So I already mentioned that the wholesale electricity market is heavily dependent on the price of gas because of the marginal pricing system. This meant that, especially during the 2022 price of gas crisis, members who were on a flexible tariff paid significantly higher bills compared to members who were on the prosumer tariff. So, according to the marketing and sales team who designed the prosumer tariff, the fixed price associated with the tariff represented a virtual link between the plant funded through the investment and the specific members or households who invested in the plant. Essentially, this virtual connection between the power plant and the prosumer was substantiated by an economic agreement that facilitated a virtual disconnection from the mainstream electricity economy. And understanding this virtual link is crucial for grasping how what I call a moral economy of the prosumer tariff works out. While actual electricity exchange still occur within the existing infrastructure and market, meaning that Nostra's prosumer remain technically connected to the national grid, the electricity supplied from collectively owned plants funded by prosumers is virtually isolated from the rest of Nostra's electricity. And this isolation allowed the Nostra sales team to establish a fixed price for that specific quantity of energy, treating it as if were insulated from market fluctuations. So, while fixed price mechanisms are common between companies, they represent a novel approach when applied to the household side of the electricity market. As one of the marketing and sales team explained to me, typically these mechanisms are based on power purchase agreements, PPAs, which are often used in business-to-business transactions and involve one-to-one agreements. Through PPAs with energy utilities, big companies can lock in the price of electricity for a specific period, usually spanning several years. As Nostra's marketing team noted, large corporations frequently resort to these agreements to meet the energy demands of their extensive facilities. So capital-intensive companies have the financial capacity to commit to agreements that guarantee, to use one of my interlocutors' words, to purchase all the energy generated by the plant, because I'm sure they will use it. In contrast, the Nostra marketing and sales team explained that agreement between Nostra and its prosumer is a sort of one-to-many agreement. In this arrangement, a member financially supports a specific power plant, and in return, it virtually receives the electricity from it. As this marketing employee clarified, it is a virtual exchange. Energy doesn't physically flow from the plant to the member's home because the electrons are generated at a specific moment in a specific site, so they don't actually enter a member's home. He clarified the distinction that I made before with the representation of the electricity system. So this setup allowed Nostra to offer electricity at a fixed price independently from market volatility, while ensuring a sort of economic sustainability of the cooperative. And also estimates the plant's potential output and sets a fixed price for prosumers based on the scope of their investment. So, to conclude, if we see Nostra prosumers from a techno-economic perspective, we can see how this new energy subjectivity represents an economic model designed to level the playing field between individuals and businesses in the electricity market. Engaging with the electricity sector in Nostra involves a series of economic transactions between the members at the organization, which are aimed at disengaging those members from the electricity economy, even though they remain technically influenced by it. In this light, the prosumer in Nostra emerges as an energy subjectivity that prefigures the kind of neoliberal energy subject which are often associated with the smart grid of future electricity system. In this context, prosumers are not merely defined by their ability to disengage from the market or radically disengage from market transactions. Rather, they are characterized by their financial capacity to actively participate in it. And with this, I conclude my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.